Ring Road project, and that's why he approached the House of Assembly and asked them to approve a supplementary budget of 200 million. I've got with me Ross Alabo. Ross is a technology and engineering consultant. He's also very adept in political and public analysis, and that's why I've invited him on the show this evening. Good evening to you, Ross. Welcome on the show.
Hello, Kalada. Good evening. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear. Welcome on the show. I hope you can hear me as well.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Let's get to the very first question. Can you help us, paint a picture of what the Ring Road is about, or what it will look like eventually when it's done with?
Okay, so a ring road basically is the carriage. It's a carriageway. In other parts of the world, it's called the Beltway. And what the Beltway simply means is like it forms a ring around the built-up area of the city. So basically, it's like an outer corridor, an outer peripheral corridor around the city that helps to, first of all, ease traffic flow, or what we call traffic flow improvement. So what it does, it distributes the traffic around the city, providing alternative routes for vehicles and reducing congestion. The second benefit is that it enhances connectivity to the various suburbs and local governments, and I'm going to describe that in the context of the Port Harcourt Ring Road. So, for instance, you have neighborhoods like Alessa, Oka, the Greater Port Harcourt. Let me use it that way. So, this ring road basically encapsulates the Greater Port Harcourt territory. And provides the networking for the connectivity for the entire Greater Port Harcourt. And it reduces travel time as well, which is one of the very important stops of the ring road. For instance, where you have major tanker drivers from the warfare axis who are loading. If you go to that area now, you see there are a lot of tank farms in that area. You don't need to bring all of those commodities into the city. So if you're taking them out to other states, for instance, you just move them out and then get into the Beltway or the Ring Road, and then you move. And so those coming from East-West Road and the Port Harcourt refinery, who are loading petroleum products there as well, do not need to drive into the city. They can just go out of the city through the Beltway or the Ring Road. The other thing it does, apart from reducing road safety, is apart from improving road travel time, is that it improves safety, because it separates the thorough traffic from local traffic, like I described, and that is one of the areas where the ring road becomes very important. And the final component why I think a ring road in the context of the Port Harcourt Ring Road is really important is urban development. When a road like the ring, just like you said, right? The first time this road was conceptualized, in my knowledge, you are correct. It was during the time of Celestine Omehia, but in that time it was very conceptual. And then I know Julius Berger had done a preliminary design because I saw that document. But then I didn't get involved in that design up until the Amechi government came in, and then the Amechi government requested that the Port Harcourt Ring Road be designed. So they had seen the proposal by Julius Berger at the time. It was requested by Obeya, and then Amechi pushed on, and then requested for the design. So in fact, the design for the road was done under Governor Amechi's regime, but the alignment that was done, I think, is different from the one that they are going to use now. At that time, I was also part of the design team on the the project that was done under Governor Amechi. It was done by a company called Pear Consultants. I was also doing some consultancy work with that company at the time. And so the alignment at the time was, it was to go through, it had the southern parts, which was basically cutting below Port Harcourt. That's from the, even to Isaka, right? Isaka or Krika, and then you get to Eleme, and then it spirals around the city, gets through the Choba axis and then back into the warfare axis and all of that. So that was the alignment at the time. And so if you imagine that alignment, what it does is that it creates urban development, because you now create room for expansion of the city, right? Especially at the southern and the northern parts of the city. And because we have the Boni River that is very commercial, it is a very commercial internal waterway. In fact, the Boni River, like I always tell people, is the most important internal waterway in the country. It's a very commercial waterway, and it carries a lot of petroleum products. So having extra development zones, enhances not just urban development, but it makes Port Harcourt more of a bigger logistics hub. So you can create another Intels, somewhere around, the southern part of Port Harcourt. So basically, the urban development part of it is also a part that will raise a lot of money for the state. And so there is if you look at the feasibility component of the road, 200 billion sounds like a lot of money. But then if you look at the economic benefits, even in terms of urban development and land value, Port Harcourt Ring Road will create so much value for land, especially in the virgin areas that it will open up, and then the value that it will create to existing plots of land. The same Port Harcourt Ring Road, still after Amechi left, in fact, before Amechi left, the original design of the Ring Road was reviewed during the Greater Port Harcourt Master Plan. And so if you have seen the Greater Port Harcourt Master Plan, I was lucky to also be a consultant at Greater Port Harcourt. You will see there was a review and an update, of the Ring Road alignment. But at that time, the scope and extent of the Ring Road did not change much. However, in this current design that they are doing, that I think that the new government wants to work with, and that it's good they're working with Julius Berger as well, because Julius Berger has been perhaps the original conceptual design creator of the Port Harcourt Ring Road. I think it's going to be it is not the same alignment that the Greater Port Harcourt Development Authority did, but it is something close, because the Ring Road, one of the reasons why the Amechi government did not do it was because it was too expensive. All right. And at that time, pulling out 200 billion from the system was something that you needed a lot of courage to do. But I think that one of the reasons why Governor Sim can take the chance is because his predecessor has done, some substantial work in terms of road infrastructure development. So it's easy for him to make that push. Is the road important? I think it is.
Okay, can I ask a question? Can I ask a question now? How long do you think it will take for them to complete the Ring Road?
If you ask me, I think the Ring Road, I've not seen the final design and the alignments, but I think that the alignments shouldn't be more than 100 kilometers. So it's going to be between the range of 80 to 100 kilometers in terms of that, and it's going to be dual carriage. I suspect that certain components of that road will run through existing roads, because there is supposed to be a cable-stayed bridge, a very expensive bridge at the southern parts, which was one of the reasons why the price went up the first time. I think that they will skip that bridge and then perhaps reroute that alignment through the town axis into Okrika. So I think, give or take, that road should take 5 years. It should be a 5-year, depending on how you approach it, also depending on the procurement plan. But I think that if we follow the precedence of how the River State government in the past 6, 7 years has followed through with projects. If they maintain the quality and speed and performance and quality of contractors that they use on this project, then I think that that road can be delivered in 4 years.
All right.
In 4 years, if funding is consistent and the caliber of contractors deployed on the site is of top quality. But I think that I hear that it's going to be a Julius Berger. Julius Berger has been the only one working in River State, so I don't see why they will want to.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it's Julius Berger and Lubric, which I think it will be, I think it's probably going to be between Julius Berger and Lubric, or Julius Berger and Lubric, because they are they've performed in the state for quite a long time. I think those two companies put together would deliver this job in 4 years.
All right. Okay. So now there's a commercial break coming up. So I would ask you to pause for a bit. But I want you to think about my next question. Given the current economic realities, I mean, you've been able to paint a picture of what the ring road will look like, the professional measurements and all. But a lot of people are saying at this time that they need certain palliatives, allow me to use that word, to cushion from the removal of petrol subsidy. A lot of people are saying there are other projects that could have been embarked upon with, 200 million naira. So I would like to get your take on that after the commercial break. Please just stay tuned.
All right.
Nigeria Info. We'll be right back.
analysts that will tell you that infrastructure development is a solid stimulant for economic activities, especially in a period where we have a challenging downturn. However, this governor has identified a path that he wants to chart, and in terms of infrastructure development at a very strategic level. And while I'm not part of the administration, and while I do not exactly know how the financing for this project will come, there are several financing models for infrastructural development. Currently, the Ebonyi state government has received and is procuring. There was an advertisement today by the Ebonyi state government for the Abakaliki Ring Road, right? And the fund is being provided by the Africa Development Bank. So if you go to the procurement journal for today, you'll see that the Ebonyi state government has released a tender for consultancy services for the Abakaliki Ring Road. In Niger State as well, something similar is going on, also being funded by the Islamic Bank. And so infrastructure development is a key approach to job creation. And if the ring road, I don't know exactly what the plan and the project plan is for this ring road. I don't know how far they've gone in terms of the overall plan or design or whatever it is. However, from what I know from my days at Port Harcourt, Greater Port Harcourt City Development Authority, where I was a consultant and where I had seen the master plan. To build that ring road would take something close to 4 to 5 years, and in that period it will generate a lot of jobs. It will 100 kilometers, at least between 70 to 100 kilometers. That's what I think. I'm not sure because I've not seen the design. 100 kilometers of road construction will create thousands of jobs over this period of time. However, you asked a very important question, which is scale of preference. What should we be addressing now as a state? Given that we should be talking about palliative and other projects that will create jobs and stimulate the state economy, given the economic difficulties that we're having. In fact, the problem we have now with the policies of the federal government is that it's going to have a solid, serious biting effect on the people. And the reason why that is going to be so is because government really does not even have the money to spend, right? The country is broke. That is the simple way to say it. The country is broke. And when the country is broke, you do not have resources for, I'll call it social welfare. So those freebies that are usually given as petroleum subsidy. I'm doing some work at Benin Republic currently, and one thing I noticed in Benin Republic, which is a neighboring country, is that every weekend the people from Benin Republic will go to the border in Nigeria around the camp axis and buy Nigerian fuel. They used to buy it at a cheaper rate, because in their country it was 700 naira. They buy fuel for 700 naira. But when they go to the Nigerian border, they buy the fuel for 500. So you could see that we were subsidizing a lot of African countries. Now that has been cut short, the country has saved some money. But then we're also seeing that the federal government is making moves to increase tariffs on electricity and all of those kind of stuff. It's going to be very difficult on the people. So what are the palliatives? What are the safety nets that are being created by the federal government and the state government? Currently, I do not have full details of what the Rivers State government is trying to do, but I hear that they're trying to create intervention programs in the area of transportation. That I think that they can do very well. The question, however, is the source of the 200 billion. That is what I don't know. So will that 200 billion come from, I've not seen the bill that has been passed. Will it come from internally generated revenue? Will it come from progressive deduction from our FAC? Or will it come from an infrastructure fund? Okay. So we have National Infrastructure Fund. We have international infrastructure funding programs like what the Africa Development Bank and the World Bank is doing. If you notice, currently you see the water project going on in Port Harcourt. The water project going on in Port Harcourt is about 200 million US dollars. It's not being funded by the state government completely. It's being funded by the Africa Development Bank, right? So there are several sources of funds that sometimes a state must take advantage of. Because if you don't take advantage of it, these are small interests, single digit interest loan facilities that you can pay for over time.
All right.
But the point I really want to emphasize is that as a citizen of the state, as an indigene of the state, I think that the Port Harcourt Ring Road is very important.
Okay, so
it's very important.
Go ahead. It's very important because
it's very important on two layers. First layer is that Port Harcourt is congested, and with the weak performance of Greater Port Harcourt, was supposed to be a very fantastic idea, but unfortunately, in the last administration, not much attention was given to Greater Port Harcourt. When Greater Port Harcourt was established, it was supposed to be a 50 billion naira annually project for about 10 years, which will have costed, they said, about 500 billion. And there are several components of this current ring road that are part of the Greater Port Harcourt plan, especially on the western and northern and eastern flanks. So you have M1 road, M10, and M12 road. All of those roads are things that will be taken care of by this ring road currently. So whether the ring road is important or not is not an issue. The ring road is very important, and I've mentioned the reasons why the ring road is important.
All
One, for urban development, expansion of the city, interconnectivity, especially with the Greater Port Harcourt, the local governments within the Greater Port Harcourt region. And what will happen is that the ring road is now going to connect to several other sub-regional roads that are going into some of these rural areas, and it will improve the overall transportation network in the state. So in the long term, in the short term, yes, that's fund. I don't know where the fund is coming from. I don't know how long, if it's going to be a loan. I don't know how long the state government will have to pay for it, and I don't know the source of funding for the facility. But I think that it is a fantastic idea. And in the long run, we will be happy that we spent our oil money on infrastructure rather than on distribution of palliatives in that sense. So for me, I believe that the area where we should spend money, especially money from the resources that we have from hydrocarbon, should be, first of all, in education, secondly, infrastructure, third, all of those health, all of those components that improve the Human Development Index within the states. So for me, I think that's the
time is fast spent, so I've got one more question so we can open the phone lines. And that question is, you mentioned Greater Port Harcourt, I mentioned monorail. These are, abandoned projects that were supposed to do the same thing the ring road is about to do, or is intending to do, or intends to do. The question then is, are we not going to, do you see this project being completed, or are we going to, abandon it like the monorail that is sitting beautifully there but not completed?
Okay, I like the way you put it, that the monorail is sitting beautifully there as a memorial. Well, I do not know the plans. I do not have. The government has not made, the state government has not made the details public, and I've not had time to look at the bill that was passed. However, I applaud the idea of such a very ambitious project. It's an ambitious project. 200 billion is not by any means small money. That is perhaps the budget of some states, right? Bigger than the budgets of some states, of quite a number of states. And so, but if you spread this over a period of 5 years, it means that the states will be making a commitment of, about 40 billion over 5 years, which I think the states can do effectively. I think the problem of the monorail, which I criticized heavily, was that the monorail was not a bad idea, but the timing was bad, and I think that the alignment was not consistent with the needs of the transportation needs of the states at the time. And some of us made some of our early arguments to say that, listen, the rail that is go straight to Alabo Junction. We don't actively deal with this with inner city bus routes. We don't have that kind of traffic that's going to threaten us so badly. Look at what the flyovers have done. What those flyovers have done is that it has reduced travel time to Alabo Junction. You see that? So the monorail was an idea that came. It's something that we're still eventually going to need. But I don't think we were supposed to rush it the way it was done. For me, I think that the monorail should have been a 10-year project, and then we should have targeted probably taking the rail. The destination should have been the airports, in my thinking at the time, and not on the Port Harcourt-Aba Road. I think that the engineering plan for the monorail project was flawed. Okay. However, it's still a project that has and carries some value.
I need to open the phone lines now. Callers are, eager to talk. And so the numbers are 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. WhatsApp messages, you go to the number 0809-0306416. We're talking about the Ring Road. We're talking about the supplementary budget. And we're asking the question, how viable is this project? We're also asking, should it have been at another time? Is this a good time, given the economic situation, economic realities? We're also asking, could that money have been put into other projects? But my guest is saying that the money could have been sourced from anywhere, apart from the major sources of revenue for the state, and is also saying it will bring a lot of great things to the state in the long term. All right, so what do you think? I've got Walter, and Walter is calling from Rukwoku. Let's listen to Walter now.
Good evening, Kalada.
Yeah, good evening to you, Walter. Welcome on the show.
How are you?
I'm great. Welcome.
Oh, you're a guest. I have to ask a question. Yeah, there are these three rules have been lingering for so much time now. And we are aware. Incidentally, it passed my place, over here. And there are papers flying here and there in my community, different surveyors and valuers. I want to ask, don't you think that there should be fraud? Because today, this thing has been passed, we are aware. And before this time, there have been flyers, people serving papers, all different type of companies and surveyors. Why is it like that?
I don't get your question. You're saying why is what like what? I'm trying to get you.
No, why are those people serving now? Because there are people they are called surveyors, different names, different companies, surveyors and valuers.
Okay.
Serving us. Many of them.
What are they serving you? Are they asking you to leave your land or what? What are they asking you to do?
No, they are serving paper for, I don't know, whether it's compensation or something like that. They are serving.
Okay, all right. We'll get
so
to
I want
that.
to know what does that mean.
Okay, we'll get to that now. I've got Ida from Nkoro. Ida, good evening to you.
Yeah,
quickly.
greetings, especially my brother.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. I spoke so many things that suit me. That road, like I'm going to my community, Nkoro. I will stay in that Apache road for over 5 hours. So if they do this project now, my quarter place come on. Because the federal government who pleaded with them to come and do that road, they refuse. They see that road will cost about 6 local government. And we employ it. I want to thank the government. You already up and borrow this money and do this. ring road for Port Harcourt.
All right,
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Right.
From Nkoro. Kudos to seeing the governor of Rivers State.
All right, thank you very much for your time there. Let's look at WhatsApp. Remember, your calls are still very much accepted. 0817-923-0002 and 0817-923-0003. This one says, good evening, Mr. Kalada, Mr. Ross. I am selfishly delighted that the road will touch my hometown, particularly a neglected part is Saka Town. However, I assume I missed it when he said it, but is Oibo and HA captured in the scope of work? Mr. Ross said Ebonyi Abakiliki's ring road is in the procurement journal. Yes, I think he said so. Text Oibo. This one says, on the ring road, your guest is a professional I know and respect so much. Please tell him the government need to look more on internal roads from new road linking Ngbaraja, Ogbogoro. If this is done, it will be a great relief to the residents and other road users. Ami for Ernest Port Harcourt. But I've got Origi from Onelga. Quickly, what's on your mind? Let's hear you.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
You see, a child that is born, they don't know the value of that child until when the child grows.
Ah.
You see the road they want to construct. I am one person that support that road.
Okay.
What made Lagos to be a very good place because of roads. So anybody decreasing that road is not a very good son of River State. So that road is a good one. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. While I'm waiting to take Benson's call, let me quickly read this message. It says, how would Governor Fubara push to borrow 200 billion naira for road construction when the huge debt left by his predecessor hasn't been paid? Like other states are doing, he should make life better for suffering rivers people. Can't he promote workers as campaigned by his principal, Victor from Ignima? But Victor, you would remember the former governor said he was not owing, that possibly the debt profile of the state was from other administrations. What do I know? Benson from HA, good evening to you. Welcome.
Good evening, Canada.
Yeah, quickly, please, Benson. Quickly.
Yes, Dick Benson from HA.
All right, welcome. Quickly.
Canada. Talking about the Port Harcourt Ring Road. I heard your guest talking about the benefits of the ring road. And one of the questions you asked him about the monorail, he also said that the problem he has with that monorail is the timing. I want to also say that the problem I have with this Port Harcourt Ring Road now is about the timing. With my own little knowledge, Kalada, I want to say that this ring road, we don't need that project now.
All right then.
Because in River State, we have other teaching projects that will be able to alleviate the suffering of the masses of River State.
All right.
For now.
All right. Benson, I've got to go. Thank you very much.
We are now hearing that the governor is grand hitting on the cassava processing factory that will be able to employ about 3,000 persons as the governor then claimed.
Benson, there's no time. Thank you very much. I've got to go. Mr. Ross, first of all, will people be evicted from their houses, their lands? Do you see the ring road cutting across people's houses? Because the first caller talked about surveyors, giving papers or documents of some sort.
All right. So like I mentioned, I'm not in the picture. I do not know exactly at what states they are. I did something. I'm just back into the city, so I'll just ask some questions. However, I know that the way projects actually state-owned or federal-owned projects operate is that the first thing is reconnaissance survey, and then the next thing is the topographic survey. And once the topographic survey is done as part of the design, there are definitely certain lands that the alignments will pass through certain owned lands. And if, for instance, and there are certain areas where, of course, demolitions, when you're embarking on such a project, I mean, look at what happened when they were building the flyovers. Certain projects, certain properties were along the alignments and had to be taken out. However,
yeah. I'm sorry, I've got to cut you short because our time is up. But I guess I understand you're saying some properties will or possibly be affected.
So government will definitely have to pay compensation for any land encroachment in terms of this. Yes, they are government, but they must pay people compensation when they pass through their lands. Someone mentioned Isaka, please. Isaka was in the Greater Port Harcourt design.
Oh, okay.
Right? That was the first design.
I've got to go now. I've got to go now. Thank you very much.
Talk to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, you stay tuned. Open season. We'll continue the conversation.
You are tuned in to
Nigeria Info. We'll be